Welcome back. In this video, we'll look at instruction or core curriculum, one of the services we as school counselors deliver directly to students. We will also be discussing the small group lessons for those of you who are working on the Gold Star level. Remember that your core curriculum or classroom lessons include the lessons or activities that are delivered to all students in a grade level and must, per ASCA, address achievement, attendance, or behavior. Small group lessons will also be submitted by Gold Star schools. These will be for targeted students and should still address achievement, attendance, or behavior. Please ensure you have a comprehensive data plan, not including the actual data in this step, just the data collection plan and/or instruments. Your curriculum action plan must vary depending on what level you are working on. Bronze schools will need to supply one classroom lesson for review. Silver and gold schools will need to supply 3 classroom lessons for review. You will need to make sure that each lesson can easily be linked to your vision and mission, and we encourage you to also connect lessons to your goals. You will also connect to the ASCA Mindsets and Behaviors or the Indiana School Counselor competencies for students, specifically choosing at least 2, but do not choose all of the possible mindsets and behaviors, because that would be impossible. You should be sure to include your differentiated teaching strategies and a focus on all learning styles. This will help you target and advocate for all students' learning needs. You will also be submitting with each lesson an evaluation plan in various forms, data collection instruments, a follow-up plan for those students who miss a lesson or do not master the content for some reason. Gold Star level schools. Your small group action plan is a comprehensive catalog of all of your small groups given over the academic year. Your small groups should be data-driven, and your implementation example group submitted should be entirely complete with at least 4 sessions. It is key that your group is the best example of a group at your school, not the best results from the student surveys. Let's remember the purpose of instruction, whether in a classroom setting or in a large or small group, is to help all students reach their potential by addressing their academic, career, and social-emotional development. By addressing these 3 areas, the school counseling program ultimately helps boost students' achievement, attendance, and discipline. The school counseling curriculum, just like an academic curriculum, is standards-based and is taught to all of our students. It focuses on teaching school counseling standards for students, otherwise known as the ASCA Mindsets and Behaviors, and the Indiana School Counseling Competencies for students. As you recall, we addressed the mindsets and behaviors in our earlier modules when we created our student outcome goal and our mindsets and behaviors action plan. Let's take a look at what we've done so far and how it all fits together. We first identified student outcome goals for our program for the school year based on the student outcome data we reviewed. We then identified ASCA Mindsets and Behaviors, or Indiana School Counseling Competencies for students, that if addressed would help students achieve our program's goals. Then we created learning objectives that specifically describe the skills, knowledge, or dispositions that we want to teach our students in order to help them attain the mindsets and behaviors or student competencies. Based on those learning objectives, we then created some pre-post test questions we can use to assess whether or not our students are learning the objectives and mastering the competencies we want to target. We then created a goal plan. We then also listed all of our counseling programs' classroom and small group activities, including those tied to our goals that the counseling program will deliver to help address the mindsets and behaviors or student competencies we want for all of our students to master. This list is also our classroom and group mindsets and behaviors action plan. Now, our task is to create lesson plans for those classroom and small group activities from our action plan. In this module, you'll create lesson plans for classroom lessons and small groups if you're a Gold Star level school that are listed in your Mindsets and Behaviors Action Plan. You may use our system to write as many lesson plans as you wish, but remember you will need only one standalone classroom lesson for Bronze Star level schools, 3 classroom lessons, either 3 standalone lessons or 3 lessons from one unit for Silver or Gold Star level schools. Gold Star level schools, you will also need to do one small group with at least 4 lessons. This is a total of 7 lesson plans for Gold Star level schools. Keep in mind that it is best if you create classroom and small group lessons that are tied to your student outcome goals. You will be able to see all the activities you included on your action plan, as well as which activities are tied to your student outcome goals. Those activities will have the target and circle icons listed next to them. You'll start by selecting the classroom lessons you wish to create lesson plans for. Simply place a check mark next to a particular lesson in the column titled Enter Lesson Plans, as you see here. Once you've checked the lesson you wish to create, you can begin to enter this lesson by clicking on the pencil icon under Tools. Going in order, you'll begin filling in your lesson plan by selecting each task. Simply click anywhere on the bar of the listed tasks to open each section. Select if your lesson is a standalone lesson or if it is part of a unit of lessons. If it's a lesson that is part of a unit and you selected this option, you will see the following pop-up message just to make sure you've selected the option you really wanted to select. A unit of lessons needs to have at least 2 lessons entered. As a reminder, you will need 3 lesson plans that are either 3 standalone lessons or 3 lessons that are part of a unit. Once you've determined if it's a standalone lesson or a lesson in a unit, you are ready to move to the next task in making your lesson plan. Click the box next to "This section is complete." The arrows to the right will allow you to close or shrink the task. Continue with each of the tasks as listed, selecting "This section is complete" once you have completed each task. When you've checked "This section is complete," the empty gray circle will become a green circle with a check mark. This is to help you keep track of where you are in the lesson plan and what still needs to be done. One of the questions you'll be asked is, what's the evidence base for this lesson? Because what we do as counselors should be based on best practice, the instruction we deliver to students should also be based on what is known to be effective and impactful. There are different levels of evidence that demonstrate whether a lesson is effective. You can select the evidence base that best fits your lesson. Definitions of each type of evidence are included here, which you can view by clicking the green information icon next to each of those listed. One tip: because you're doing a pre-post assessment and collecting student outcome results with all the lesson plans you're creating here, you can always select Action Research Evidence Base. Collecting results from a pre-post test and student outcomes are examples of action research. As best practice, your lesson should be supporting some kind of student outcome related to achievement, attendance, or discipline. This is the why or the reason for your classroom lesson or small group. When creating a classroom lesson plan or lesson plans for a small group that's tied to one of your goals for the year, you already have identified the student outcome you want to address. It will automatically appear here. Your lesson plan will need to include learning objectives or specific skills and knowledge you want students to gain from this lesson. Again, if your lesson plan is tied to one of the student outcome goals you've identified for your school counseling program, you will already have learning objectives here that you identified when you created your goal. You can keep them as is or create new learning objectives. If your lesson plan is not tied to a goal, you will need to identify no more than 2 learning objectives for your lesson. Be sure to check the boxes once you have either selected or filled in your learning objectives. From here, you will fill in the details of your lesson plan, including how you will introduce the lesson, how you will communicate the objectives to students, the lesson content itself, activities to help reinforce the lesson, and etc. You will also be asked to describe your plan for students who miss the lesson or who do not master the learning objectives. Finally, you will indicate if your lesson plan is complete. You will also have the option of sharing your lesson plans with others. Be sure to print and save this lesson plan. You will also see a link to take you back to the lesson plan menu. From the lesson plan menu, you can select the lesson plans you wish to have reviewed by your assigned reviewer by clicking on the box in the far right column. If you wish to select a single unit of 3 lessons for your application, click on All, and all lessons in the unit will be automatically selected. If you are a Gold Star level school, you will use a similar process for entering lessons for a small group. These will be similar to entering a unit of lessons. Again, you will see the small groups listed in your Mindsets and Behavior Action Plan. Those groups that are associated with your program's student outcome goals will be indicated by having the target and circle icons listed next to them. Make sure your small group has at least 4 lessons. Your small group exemplary plan should include 4 sessions of your group. Your group plan should have goals and a connection to the mindsets and behaviors. Remember, quality over quantity in this area. ASCA Ethical Standards 2016 share that our school counseling comprehensive program groups must be evidence or research-based, so you should include an area based on research and reference research where applicable. Remember, data collection is important and should include process questions like who, how many, what you did, and etc. Perception questions about student changes in attitude, knowledge, or skills. Outcome data should include reflections on changes in achievement, attendance, or behavior. You're almost finished. You're doing great. For now, your tasks to complete are: create 1 classroom lesson if you're a bronze school, or 3 classroom lessons if you're a silver or gold school. These can be either 3 standalone lessons or 3 lessons from 1 unit. As always, feel free to contact me at rfraser@doe.in.gov for assistance. If your question pertains to the online platform, you can also contact Amy Porteous of Inspire Success, our technical partner, at amy@inspiresuccess.org.